Rahab hid 2 enemy spies on her own roof and lied to the king's soldiers standing at her door. A woman with no standing in the city risked everything for people she had known for less than a day. Joshua 2 verses 4-5 says she sent the king's men in the wrong direction, and the spies were still on her roof. You have been looking at your past and concluding it disqualifies you from whatever story God is currently writing. Too much history. Too much shame attached to your name. Too far outside what a respectable inclusion would look like. Rahab's occupation was not a rumor. It was public record in a city small enough that everyone knew exactly who she was and what she did for a living. Many of you will push back on this. Good. Because this is the part of Rahab's story that gets softened until it stops meaning anything. Part 1. The spies went to her house first, before anywhere else in the city. Joshua 2 verse 1. Joshua sent 2 men as spies, saying, "Go, view the land, especially Jericho." So they went and entered the house of a prostitute named Rahab and lodged there. Not a merchant's house. Not a soldier's house. Not the house of anyone with civic standing who might offer them credibility. Her house, likely near the city wall, likely chosen because strangers coming and going would draw less attention there than anywhere else. But here is what nobody told you. The Hebrew word for prostitute here is zona, used plainly, without euphemism, without softening. The text does not hide her occupation behind a gentler translation the way some later retellings try to. Scripture names exactly what she was doing for a living in the same sentence it names her as the person who would save 2 Israelite spies and, eventually, herself. There is no attempt anywhere in the text to make her more respectable before she becomes useful to the story. Part 2. She lied to protect people she had known for less than a day. Joshua 2 verses 4-5. The woman took the 2 men and hid them. She said, "Yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they had come from." When the gate was about to be shut at dark, the men went out. I do not know which way they went. Pursue them quickly, you can overtake them. Rahab did not hesitate before the king's men arrived at her door. She had already made her decision before the soldiers ever knocked. The spies were on her roof under stalks of flax the entire time she spoke. Think about that for a second. This was treason under Jericho's law, carrying almost certain execution if discovered by the king's own men standing at her door. Rahab had no covenant with Israel's God, no family history with this nation, no promise made to her before that night, and no guarantee the men hiding on her roof would remember her once the walls came down. She staked her life on 2 strangers based on something she had only heard about, not something she had personally witnessed. Part 3. Her reasoning reveals she understood something Jericho's king did not. Joshua 2 verses 9-11. I know that the Lord has given you this land, the fear of you has fallen on us. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you. When we heard it, our hearts melted, and everyone's courage failed. The Lord your God is God in heaven above and on earth below. She had heard the same reports every citizen of Jericho had heard. The difference was not access to information. The difference was what she did with the fear the rest of the city carried and did nothing about. Now stop. Many of you will push back on this. Good. Because Rahab's confession here is more theologically precise than most stated beliefs recorded anywhere else in the conquest narrative. A woman with no formal covenant relationship to Yahweh, no scribe teaching her the law, no elder instructing her in Israel's history, articulated his sovereignty over heaven and earth more clearly than the king who ruled the very city she lived in. Fear had reached everyone in Jericho. Understanding had reached only her. Part 4. Her request was specific, and it bound her family to her decision. Joshua 2 verses 12-13. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord that you will show kindness to my family, because I have shown kindness to you. Give me a sure sign that you will spare my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and that you will save us from death. Rahab did not ask only for herself. She negotiated protection for an entire household before she had any proof the spies could deliver on their word. The scarlet cord she was told to tie in her window was not decoration. It was the visible sign of a promise made to a woman the rest of the city had already dismissed. Let that land. Every other person in Jericho who heard the same reports about Israel's God responded with fear that produced nothing but paralysis. Rahab heard the same reports and produced a plan, a negotiation, and an act of treason against her own city. All before she had any covenant claim to stand on, any promise made to her by name, or any guarantee the men she hid would honor their word once they were safely gone. Part 5. The moral dilemma her choice forces into the open. Tell me honestly in the comments, if protecting strangers meant committing treason against your own city and risking your family's life on their word alone, would you have done what Rahab did? The men she hid were spies for a nation about to destroy everyone she had ever known. Her own people would have called her a traitor. History called her something else entirely. Part 6. What Jericho recorded as her occupation, Scripture recorded as her legacy. Joshua 6 verse 25. Joshua spared Rahab the prostitute, with her family and all who belonged to her, because she hid the spies Joshua had sent to Jericho. And she lives among the Israelites to this day. Matthew 1. 5 places her name directly in the genealogy leading to Christ: Salmon the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. The occupation Jericho used to define her became, in Scripture, a single line in a genealogy that led somewhere she could not have imagined standing in that room negotiating with 2 strangers she had known for less than a day. Notice what did not happen between that night and her name appearing in Matthew's genealogy. Scripture does not record a formal ceremony erasing her past, a public declaration wiping her record clean, or years of penance she had to complete before she qualified for inclusion. The scarlet cord in her window was the only qualification the text records, a sign of a promise kept, not a certificate of reformed character. You have been treating your history as the final entry in your own record, the way Jericho treated Rahab's occupation as the only fact worth knowing about her. Scripture did not erase what she had been. It recorded it plainly, right alongside what she became, proof that a name is never only the first thing people knew about you. Rahab was not included in this story despite her past. She was included because of what she did the moment the story needed her, regardless of what she had done before that night. If you want to see what it looks like when God chooses someone the room already assumed was disqualified, watch the video on screen now. A man who said he did not know how to speak was appointed a prophet to nations before he had a vocabulary for the assignment. Type, "I received this," in the comments if you are choosing today to let what you did next define you, not what disqualified you before.